Good evening and welcome to Wednesday Wellness Live. This is the first video that I am doing here live on YouTube, and if you're watching here this evening live, bear with me a little bit because I'm not used to these controls. But tonight we're talking about lumbar traction, and in tonight's video we're going to cover some of the clinical hard fast rules that we use to make sure that we are getting the right patients the right treatment. But before we get to that, I want to tell you a little story here, and to preface the story I need to start out with, I am a giant nerd. Right? I got it. I'm okay with it. It is what it is. But I live across the street from a used bookstore, a used antique bookstore as it is. And I went across the street the other day and I grabbed myself a copy of Hippocrates' works from about 70 years ago. And it's not actually Hippocrates, you know, the father of medicine, Hippocratic Oath, that guy. It's actually a collection of attributions to him, right? So things that are attributed to him by other authors that say, yeah, this guy kind of taught me that. And in this book, right, which is some writings from 2,500 years ago, give or take, there's a chapter called On the Articulation. So Hippocrates, back 2,500 years ago, wrote a chapter, and in this chapter that talks about joints or articulations, he's talking about spinal traction. Right? So we've been using this for a long, long time. The father of modern medicine, Hippocrates, used traction to help his patients, right? And hopefully I can figure out how to link an article or some of the pictures of the devices he used to apply his traction, because they are scary. They are super scary, actually. But fantastic nonetheless that we've been using traction for a long, long time. So still to this day, we use traction in my office. We use a cervical traction, we use a lumbar traction. I'm going to save those for a different video of me actually showing how that traction happens. Tonight's just kind of the overview for traction. But we still use traction because when we are dealing with a patient with a disc herniation, right? You got your vertebrae, you got the disc in between, you have that disc that skips backwards, right? A disc herniation. We're trying to pull that spine apart so that the disc herniation goes back towards the midline there, right? And so we use it for radicular pain for patients who have tingling into their arms, hands, fingers. We use it for patients who have some osteoarthritis that narrows the canal, some stenosis. But until this point, we haven't had any real solid rules about who and how and why we should be applying this traction, right? So we've never actually had a great study that has shown us these are the patients that are going to get the best results from this traction. That is until now. That's what this video is talking about here. So recently, some researchers took a collection of patients, and they were trying to figure out who is actually going to get benefit from lumbar traction. There's a variety of different lumbar traction companies, lumbar traction devices out there now, much, much better than Hippocrates lumbar tractions. But we never knew what patients would actually respond the best. And so these researchers actually figured that out. And basically what they found were responders, right? So people who were most likely to get benefit. And it went up by 100%. So instead of like 25% of people getting results, 50% of people got results if they met these 5 criteria. So if this sounds like you, if you're watching this video and you're like, I wonder if I'm going to be one of these people, pay attention to these 5 rules I'm about to give you, right? So if you have limited lumbar extension, if you have trouble leaning backwards without pain, that makes you one of these responders, right? So that's one of the reasons that you should be looking to do some traction. If you want to get back to work, seriously, this low-level fear avoidance of going back to work is really important, right? Because it helps us to determine patients kind of who want to get better versus patients who might not want to get better as much, if that makes any sense to you. So if you really want to get back to work, that makes you in this camp of people who will get benefit from traction. If you have no segmental hypomobility in your spine, what did you say, Dr. Merrill? So if your spine moves like it's supposed to. Now, how would you know that? You might not be able to know that unless you go to see a chiropractor or your medical doctor who actually palpates and touches your spine. But if your spine moves freely, that probably means there's no hypomobility. So that also puts you into that camp of somebody who would respond well to traction. So the other thing is, number 4 is a short duration of symptoms. How long have you had your symptoms? Is it less than a month or more than a month? The longer you've had your symptoms, the less likely you are to benefit from traction, actually. So something else to think about. And then the last one is sudden onset of symptoms. So if your symptoms happen like lifting a box and then you have sudden pain that radiates down your legs, you're much more likely to get benefit than somebody who had a slow roll of chronic pain that built up over a series of weeks or months or years, right? So these are the 5 predictors that we know now are going to get patients better results if they do traction. So another study that came out recently looked at, does traction work better than chiropractic? And this is kind of important. So what they found is that traction and chiropractic together work the best. right? And that's kind of the end of the research. It doesn't matter which one worked better. They know that they both work better together. So that's kind of the long and the short of it. Anyways, tonight's video, super duper short. Again, super big nerd, but if you wanted to go follow up on Hippocrates' works from 2,500 years ago, have at it. I am going to have this video up on YouTube. It's up right now, I guess. And any questions or concerns, you can throw them out to me. If you know somebody who's suffering from some disc pain, radiating pain into arms, legs, hands, or feet, maybe steer them to this video so that they can see some of those rules and see if they apply to them before they go out shelling a whole bunch of dollars to Traction or to a medical doctor. Anyways, that's all I have for this evening. Again, I'm Dr. Andrew Merrill here doing Wednesday Night Wellness Lives on this YouTube forum from now on. If you're catching the replay on Facebook, I will also answer your questions on Facebook. I'm the guy. I'm the guy behind the guy. There's nobody else. I am a one-man team that will field all of your questions if you have them. So throw them right here wherever you see this video. Have a wonderful evening. I will see you next time for another Wednesday Night Wellness Live. Good night.